Hello, you're watching News Audit with me. I'm Doval. Today, our focus is on the Delhi violence that has been unfolding over the last 3 days. Since Sunday, it has been escalating until it reached full-blown proportions on Tuesday evening. However, on Wednesday morning, things have started returning to some semblance of normalcy. In fact, as we speak, the National Security Advisor, Ajit Doval, is making rounds of the violence-hit northeast districts that have been calm since this morning. And he's making the rounds of these districts, interacting with locals, trying to soothe and calm down the situation. Now, the question we are really asking today is how we got to this. Why wasn't the violence nipped in the bud as it began on Sunday? So we'll have to recap a bit for this. On Sunday, basically two groups, one opposing the amended citizenship law and one for it, clashed. And since then, the situation escalated to such an extent that it has caused the deaths of 22 civilians so far. And over 200 people have been injured in these riots in Delhi. Now, let's turn back to the events that happened today, and then we'll do a wrap-up of the sequence of events that led to this entire fiasco and that led to the entire state machinery actually failing. So if we recap, if we look at what happened today, let's talk about the police first, because the police have come under even the court's condemnation for their alleged inaction, for being simply mute spectators while the situation simply got out of hand in the national capital at a moment when the US president was making his first visit to India. That is when the situation really blew up over Monday and Tuesday. If we look at what happened today, the police have been taking out flag marches. The police have been really alert and vigilant on Wednesday morning. On Tuesday evening, remember, the police had given shoot on-site orders to contain the situation that was happening in Delhi. There was widespread arson, stone pelting, even bullets, even gunshots were fired. Several of those people who have died in hospitals across Delhi have died due to bullet injuries as well. So to contain all of that, on Wednesday morning, some semblance of normalcy returned after the police really cracked down on Tuesday evening. There have been flag marches, there have been appeals for people to stay indoors and really calm down. Police have been going around these places in northeast of Delhi where there was widespread violence. In fact, the Delhi Police Commissioner himself addressed the media today after we saw all of this happening over the last 3 days. This is the first time he really addressed the media face-to-face, said the situation is coming down to normalcy. The police are on the streets to restore peace and calm. So all of this that is happening on Wednesday morning ideally should have happened much before. Ideally, it should have happened on Sunday when the violence was just simmering. That was the day before the US president arrived in India. Everything could have, cold water could have been thrown on the situation, and it could have actually been, it could have never escalated to what it has as we see now. That is what's happening on the security front. Of course, the latest images also are very positive of the National Security Advisor meeting locals and interacting with them and really asking them what led to the violence and whether everything is fine now. We also had the Union Health Minister Harshvardhan visiting hospitals last evening. That aside, let's look at what happened in court, because the government finally stepped in very late in the day, and the matter had reached the court, in fact, this morning. If we look at what the court said, it was extremely sharp in its criticism of the police in particular. The police for its inaction. The Delhi High Court, it said that it does not want the situation in Delhi to become one that was there in 1984. The Delhi High Court said that in fact, the Supreme Court said that the police has acted in an extremely unprofessional manner. Had the police stepped in at a point of time when it was required to do so, then the violence could never have been instigated. That's the Supreme Court's observation. The Delhi High Court, which was hearing these violence cases, also said that, we do not want the situation to escalate into another 1984. Senior functionaries of the government should go out onto the streets, interact with people, and participate in confidence-building exercises. So that part has probably been heeded by the government. In fact, the NSA since last evening has been on a rounds of various government officials, top senior police officials, and now he's meeting the locals. So there is some confidence building exercise going on as we speak. However, once again, I'd like to reiterate that this is a little late in the day because everything has been happening since Sunday. Perhaps much of the focus was directed at the US president's visit in India. However, you cannot neglect, your own country, especially the national capital, where things are going out of hand in such a scale. So that's what's happening, what happened on the legal front. Also, I would like to add that today the Delhi High Court was really trying to arrive at the root cause of this entire riot-like situation in the national capital. So a lot of the spotlight is also being shown on BJP leader Kapil Mishra. Remember, whose video clip went viral. In fact, he shared it himself on social media, where he's instigating people, where he's making really provocative statement, giving an ultimatum to the people of Jafrabad and such areas who had come out in large numbers to protest. Kapil Mishra is heard in that clip saying that you have 3 days, and if you do not go back, then we will come out onto the streets and push you back. Basically, that was a direct threat being sent out on social media. Where the police ought to have come in was at this juncture. Now, also remember, in that video clip, a police official is also seen standing right next to the BJP leader. The court played out this clip inside the court premises in order to remind the Delhi police that this is what had happened right under their watch, and yet they failed to reprimand this leader, take him into custody, or act in any way. The police essentially failed to do that. So Kapil Mishra, again, a lot of the harsh spotlight is directed at him. He remains defiant. He says he did not say anything wrong. Let's recap the sequence of events. Let's see where Kapil Mishra fits in and how the entire thing got blown up when these speeches were essentially made. Now, on Sunday, a group of protesters came out onto the streets in northeast Delhi. And that was the day before, remember, the US president arrived in India. So these protesters said they will demonstrate, they will call a bandh, they will not go back into their homes. And of course, a day before the US president arriving, tensions were high about how this entire thing will pan out, which is when BJP leader Kapil Mishra enters the picture, and he puts out this clip in which he's seen telling the protesters that either you go back or we come onto the streets. Him and his group of supporters come onto the streets, and essentially there's going to be a clash between both the factions. And that is exactly what happened later. He and his group came onto the streets in northeast Delhi. They faced off with a rival gang that was protesting against the Citizenship Act. Let's call them the two groups, one pro-CAA, one anti-CAA. They faced off. There were stones pelted on either side. The situation escalated. There were clashes. Then the police stepped in, but there was only a brief period of lull, after which the violence once again escalated. Shops were burnt, vehicles were put on fire, and a tire market in the middle of all of this was completely reduced to ashes. All of this happening while full glare of the international media is on the national capital where the US president is visiting. So that is basically the sequence of events, how things panned out from Sunday till Wednesday morning, when things are slightly settling down now. Now on Tuesday is when the police effectively stepped in, telling protesters on both sides to go back to their homes. And at this point, the death toll is already rising. There are already over a dozen deaths in the national capital. And the police tell the protesters to go back. They take the situation under their control. That is when the police steps in. Today morning, the government steps in. The government has stepped in. The Home Minister has taken review meetings, etc. But the NSA really got acting last evening and today morning as well. And the court, finally, the matter reached the court today morning, when the court clamped down on, it really pulled up the police force for failing in its duty. The primary duty of restoring law and order rests with the police forces. It does not, a leader, instigating violence. That's what the court said. It appears he is definitely, instigating protesters to come out and clash. That is taking law into one's own hand. No one, not even a lawmaker, not a representative of the people, is permitted to do that. That's the police's job. So all of the, the focus in the court has really gone on to the police for its ineffective handling of this entire situation. If the police had been vigilant, then perhaps the situation wouldn't have come to what it has now, leading to the deaths of 22 civilians. So the question really is, we see the situation in Delhi settling down now, but the question really is why it was allowed to escalate to this point when everything that is being done at this point in time could have been done on Sunday itself. That is the question. That is the point where the state machinery essentially collapsed. Nobody took responsibility. The buck really doesn't stop anywhere now. So that is the question we are leaving you with. That was all on this bulletin. Thanks for watching.